Before we get started, guys, just wanted to remind you that the Golden State with Mates Patreon is now live, providing even more written and podcast content from myself. Members will also go into a monthly draw, the first of which will be for a brand new Stephen Curry jersey, which I'll announce on October 20, just 24 hours out from Golden State's opening regular season game against the Los Angeles Lakers. If it sounds like you might be interested, I'll leave a link in the description. Go and check it out. Coming up on this episode, the Warriors and Kings back in negotiations on a potential Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade. But can a deal possibly get done? I'll dive into the different machinations at play to see if a trade can get done that appeases both sides. Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates podcast. Hope you're all having a good week thus far. Sam Amick of The Athletic has dropped a bit of a bomb under everyone's table here on a Thursday, my time, late Wednesday, for those of you in America, with a pretty significant report when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga and his restricted free agency. Of course, we've been going back and forth on whether the Warriors will finally get Kuminga to agree to a 3-year, $75 million offer with a third-year team option, whether the Warriors will potentially give in to Kuminga's demand of a player option on that third year, or whether or not he'll be ultimately willing to take the qualifying offer route and take control of his own destiny to a degree. However, Amick has reported the biggest thing from this update from him comes in the way of the Warriors and Kings getting back into negotiations on a potential Kuminga sign and trade. And I quote here to get us started from Amick says, "Yet, according to team sources, there's still another scenario in play here, a sign and trade deal with the Sacramento Kings." While the two teams went more than a month without discussing the matter during the later part of the summer, team sources said the talks between the two sides were renewed earlier this week. And while no significant progress was made in the talks, it's quite notable that the Kings, who have offered veteran guard Malik Monk a lottery-protected 2030 first-round pick for the chance to give Kuminga a 3-year, $63 million deal, aren't giving up on the prospect of bringing him to Sacramento this season. So it doesn't look as if the offer has necessarily changed, which is interesting. Why would the two teams get back together if the offer hasn't changed? Is this a simple case of the Warriors reaching out to the Kings and saying, hey, do you want to change your offer at all? Like, we're still open to listening. Or is it a case of the Kings saying, hey, this is only a few days till media day. You still haven't got this done. Are you sure you don't want to take the Malik Monk and a top 3 protected, or whatever protection it is, a lottery protected 2030 first round pick it actually is? Do you want to take that deal and kind of get this drama away from your franchise and off your books, so to speak? So the obstacles to this haven't changed, and that's the problem here. Like, it hasn't. If this is still the same offer, then the same obstacles exist. And Amick mentioned those in the report later on, and saying that, well, the Warriors don't really have any interest in Malik Monk, which makes sense because on last episode, I outlined the amount of shooting guards that the Warriors have on their roster, and the fact that Malik Monk would just add to that. Now, is he maybe the best of the lot? Possibly, but I don't think from a value standpoint that really helps the Warriors too much. And the other, and perhaps the bigger obstacle to this, is the fact the Warriors would have to trade Buddy Hield or Moses Moody to be able to make the contracts work and the salary matching work, given the basic compensation rules. That means Kuminga, if he's getting a 3-year, $63 million contract from the Kings, let's say it's starting therefore at $20 million, therefore the Warriors can only bring back 10. And in order to absorb Monk's contract, they would have to move Buddy Hield or Moses Moody probably to a third team. The biggest thing for me here, and what we can't lose sight of, is that the Warriors have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford coming in as a 39-year-old. They are a veteran team looking to contend for a title this season. Now, we can argue whether or not they're how close they are to contention, all these other things, but the facts are, like, they have aspirations to make a deep playoff run this season. And so trading Kuminga, there's got to be an upgrade element to this. There's no point doing a sideways trade, particularly if it's for a guy in a different position, like in a shooting guard option like Monk, who the Warriors desperately just don't need. Maybe you could sideways trade him to another forward type, but to me, like, trading Kuminga and let's say Buddy Hield for Malik Monk, that's not an upgrade, right? Now, do you get the lottery protected first round pick in 2030? Yeah, okay, cool. Maybe the Kings lift those protections a little bit. Maybe it becomes a top 3 or a top 5 protected first round pick. Cool. Unless you can make the trade, unless you can make another trade with that pick to upgrade your roster, then I just don't think the Warriors want to be going backwards here in terms of their immediate short-term goals. They're not in looking to rebuild, right? And so, as Amick says, like, they would be trying to flip Monk to a third team and possibly the pick as well to try and upgrade the roster. They don't want to go backwards here. And to me, again, trading Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Malik Monk, that's going backwards. Now, Monk might be the best of those three players right now, but still, like, that's a 2-for-1 that doesn't make much sense. And I still think, like, Kuminga by himself, if you just compare Kuminga and Monk, and there's a lot of Warrior fans on social media saying, like, just take Malik Monk. Malik Monk's good, and I agree. Like, he's fine. But again, he's a shooting guard, and the Warriors lack size. They lack a bit of athleticism. Those are elements that Kuminga brings. And so I think to the Warriors, Kuminga is still more valuable than Malik Monk, clearly, because the Kings are also willing to give up a lottery-protected pick as part of this. So the Warriors shouldn't be in the business of sideways trading or downgrading. If they are going to trade Kuminga, they need to get an upgrade. And that's exactly why they ultimately don't think they can get an upgrade this offseason, and that they want to bring him back on a reasonable $20 to $25 million per year contract and then find the upgrade mid-season when, frankly, there's going to be more opportunities available. Because I'm looking around the league and it's like, okay, well, what other messy situations are there that the Warriors could get involved in where there's a player that wants out or a player or a team that wants to get rid of a player, and therefore, like, the Warriors could try and capitalize on that situation by making some kind of 3 or 4 team trade where Kuminga goes to the Kings and that disgruntled player from another team comes to the Warriors and all this. It's just very, very complicated. And there's not really any other scenarios around the league where you can say that player wants to be traded or that he's very, very available. And of course, like, teams are starting training camp. Teams have started media day. Like, teams at the moment probably like their team at least enough to not be willing to just blow it up before they even see a single second of floor time together. So the Warriors are going to be wanting Kuminga back on a contract that therefore they can wait till mid-season, where there is no doubt going to be opportunities where teams understand where they're at, understand where certain players are at, and say, yeah, like, I want to, we as a team want to move that player, or that player is disgruntled and wants out. There's going to be so many different opportunities in a way that the Warriors took advantage of the Jimmy Butler situation at Miami. Like, the Warriors eventually got Jimmy Butler at a price that was significantly lower than if they traded for him at, say, this time last year, right? Before training camp, before all the drama kind of came to the surface in regard to Jimmy Butler. So the Warriors want an upgrade here. And that's what I'm looking at in terms of, you've got to be able to find an upgrade, because, and if you bring in Monk and say, well, we get Monk, we get a lottery protected pick, he's going to be okay in the short term, and then we can trade him anyway mid-season, I think that's playing with a little bit of danger. And I think that's easier said than done, being able to have Malik Monk and then being able to move him mid-season. Like, easier said than done. Teams will probably understand that, hey, Golden State, like, we're not going to necessarily give up much value because we know you probably need to move on from him because you've got 7 or 8 shooting guards on the roster. Like, you've got an absolute abundance there. So I just don't like the idea of trading for someone and then flipping him in December, January, like whenever he's going to be available to be traded again. Like, if you're going to do it, then you need to find that third team now, I think, which again is difficult because there's not situations around the league that necessarily are opening up potential players that you could go and target. And so, for example, like, I went out and I had a look. It's like, okay, if this is going to happen, then it needs to be some kind of Kuminga to the Kings, Monk to X team, and X player to the Warriors, right? Where the Warriors feel like we've got some kind of upgrade here. And I'm not saying it has to be an upgrade on talent from Kuminga, but it has to be a similar level talent who's perhaps a better fit. The first thing I would do before I get into this from a Warriors standpoint is that, and I know Kings fans that are listening to me right now, you're going to tear your hair out and want to punch me in the face. But if I'm the Warriors, the first thing, like, I'm asking how many picks, instead of you giving us the picks, how many picks is it going to take to get Keegan Murray? And the Kings are going to say 4, and the Warriors are going to say, well, we're not giving you Kuminga and 4 first-round picks for Keegan Murray. So that, and that dies down, right? And it doesn't go anywhere. But if I'm the Warriors, I'm at least asking the question and saying, hang on a second, you've got Sabonis, you've got DeRozan, you've got Monk, you've got Levine, you've got Schroeder. that's 5 guys making $13+ million, and a couple of them are making over $40 million on multi-year deals. None of those guys I don't think are on expiring contracts, right? You're going to have to extend Keegan Murray, but you also want to bring in Kuminga on over $20 million a year. How are you going to have the space here without going way over the first or second tax apron, which is not really what you want to do as a team in the Kings who are kind of in the middle? Like, they're not competing for a championship. They're not probably competing for a playoff spot. So what are you really doing? Is this the opportunity the Warriors say, hey, if you want to make sure that you can kind of fix your cap situation without having to potentially attach assets to a Levine or a DeRozan to get off them at some point, then here's your opportunity to say, okay, we're going to pay Kuminga, but we're not going to extend Keegan Murray, and you could probably get 2 first-round picks. If the Kings said, 2 first-round picks, and like later on first-round picks, right? 2029, 2032, let's just say, for example, it said Kuminga and those 2 picks for Keegan Murray. What do the Warriors do in that situation? I'd almost tell them to go for it. Honestly, I think Keegan Murray would be a great fit on the Warriors. Do I think the Kings would accept that? Probably not. They're probably going to say it's 4 first-round picks. But again, it's not hurting the situation by asking how many first-round picks it would take. It's not like, I'm sure the Grizzlies weren't really interested in trading Desmond Bane, but the Magic come and say, hey, how many picks do you need for, to trade Desmond Bane? And again, the Grizzlies are probably like, oh yeah, 4 first-round picks, and the Magic are like, all right, let's work out a deal. And then it ends up happening. So that's what I would do first if I'm the Warriors. But outside of that, like, do the Kings have anything realistically that the Warriors would want from a player standpoint that can immediately upgrade this roster going into next season? No, not really. Again, Monk, that's not an upgrade to me. And again, the Warriors should be looking to upgrade. So where does the third team come in, right? And if you think about Kuminga, again, is about $10 million in outgoing salary because he's $20 million incoming to the Kings on his new deal. Half that, $10 million, plus Buddy Hield at $9.2 million. It's about $20 million. So I looked at the list of players who are making between $18 to $22 million a year this season who have, one, not been traded already this offseason, because there's a bunch of guys that are kind of fallen into that group, the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Dylan Brooks, a couple other guys who've already been traded, and also guys that haven't signed, right, and are on new deals that they signed in free agency. So the list of names here: Kyle Kuzma, Nikola Vucevic, Jared Allen, Josh Hart, Harrison Barnes, our old friend, Malik Monk, obviously, Rui Hachimura, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Andrew Nemhard, Ivica Zubac, Zach Collins, Pat Williams, Kevin Huerter. Geez, those couple of contracts at Chicago are awful, although the Huerter one started in Sacramento. And Keldon Johnson. They're the players making, I think, between $17 and $22 million per year that, again, haven't been traded already this summer or haven't signed new deals this summer necessarily. So of that group, is there anyone there that you would say, yes, I'm willing to trade Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield for? I don't think so. Like, I just don't think there's a player like Jared Allen's been a guy that the Warriors have toyed around with in terms of, in fact, more like Warrior fans in terms of speculation. There's been speculation on his future. I don't think the Cavs are looking to give him up at this point. Perhaps later in the season, there's a chance if they think that the whole double big Mobley-Allen combination has run its course, potentially. But again, like, the Warriors bringing in Al Horford as their starting center. Do they need Jared Allen? I don't think so. Harrison Barnes, I mean, could kind of fit with the Warriors, but I don't think you're giving up Kuminga and Hield for Harrison Barnes. Who else would be available? Like, that's the other thing is, like, these guys have got to be available with their current teams. Hachimura, well, like, you have to give, the Lakers are also a contending team, so you'd have to give them some kind of upgrade. Would they take, like, they're not going to take Monk back because they've got Austin Reeves, and, like, I don't think they need Malik Monk back on their team. Obviously the Thunder aren't giving up Dort or Caruso. You wouldn't have thought. The Pacers with Nemhard, I think you'd have to give up assets. And again, Nemhard, I just don't, like, he's a very good player, no doubt, but his value to the Warriors in terms of their abundance of backcourt options, do they need Andrew Nemhard? I don't know. Zubac's not going to be available. Zach Collins, Pat Williams, Kevin Huerter, you're having a laugh. Like, that's not going to happen. Keldon Johnson, probably not. Like, he might be available. Like, they might flip Keldon Johnson. Well, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't flip Keldon Johnson for Malik Monk because the Spurs have a bunch of guards as well. So that, like, this is the thing to me. Like, that's all the guys making between 17 and 22 million that again haven't been traded already or who haven't signed deals this offseason. That's such a yucky list. Like, there's no name that stands out there that is, one, a significant upgrade for the Warriors, and two, actually in any way available. Now, I just think you could go a step further and say, well, how about you include, Moses Moody to it, and then you can get a player up to $30 million. But like, that's just getting way too complicated, I think, at that point. The other thing is you go backwards and say, well, if it's not going to be Keegan Murray, right, if you can't flip Kuminga for Murray, is there another guy who, again, is extension eligible, who a team, the team might not want to pay, for example? Could, Walker Kessler's name comes up, and I saw a report from Tony Jones, I think, saying he's not going to get extended from the Jazz this offseason. Would you just flip Kuminga for Walker Kessler, for example, and say to the Jazz, here's Malik Monk and a lottery protected Kings pick in 2030? I don't think the Jazz wouldn't do that. The Warriors would have to throw in a pick on top of that, or the Kings would have to throw in another pick. Like, the Jazz aren't going to do that. So again, maybe there's a guy, again, a fourth-year extension guy who the team doesn't really want to pay, and then you can capitalize on that situation. But again, I don't think that's necessarily arising in the next few days here before the October 1 deadline or will come up, I suppose. And I am really interested. I'm sure we'll find out once the Kuminga situation is settled. I'm sure we'll find out, as we always do, on kind of different combinations of players and trades that were discussed, because I'm sure there's a lot more being discussed than just Malik Monk and a lottery protected first round pick. Like, I'm sure the Warriors are coming back and saying, as I said before, like, I'd hope they're saying how many picks for Keegan Murray kind of thing. I'm hoping they're going to the Pelicans and saying, well, can we do something with Trey Murphy III? Because there was the scenario I laid out when the Warriors kind of, their interest in Trey Murphy arose, where there was a trade that could happen where it was like Kuminga and Moody in a 4-team trade, and Kuminga was going to the Suns, and there's expiring salary, and Moody going to the Pelicans, and they were getting like 3 or 4 first-round picks in there. And maybe that could work as well with the Kings in place of the Suns, potentially. But I don't think the Pelicans have had their media day. I don't think they're trading Trey Murphy III at any point here, at least in the next few months. So I don't know. Let me know, guys. Let me know, is there a player out there who, like, I can't even think of a player who wants to get, like, I've seen some things on social media. Would you just flip Kuminga for Quentin Grimes, the 2 restricted free agents? I don't think you would, because again, what value does Quentin Grimes have when the Warriors have like 6 shooting guards? I don't know. Like, if you're trading Kuminga, it needs to be for an upgrade. And I think ideally it needs to be for a front court player. It needs to be for another 6'7", 6'8" guy who is either athletic or can really shoot it. And 6'7", 6'8" guy who can really shoot it. That falls into the category of Keegan Murray. That's why he's always been my dream, I suppose, in this scenario. Or a guy like Trey Murphy III, who's, again, very, very similar. So, I mean, Trey Murphy III is better than Keegan Murray, but you know my point. So I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see. There's been none of these reports that say the Kings and a lottery protected 2030 first round pick. They always mention, the Warriors would have to move Hield or Moody. They don't give any suggestions of what that would look like, and that's what I want. It's like, that's not nothing. That's part of the reason the Warriors won't do the trade is because they want to keep those guys. And I don't know, could you go, like, if they're moving them as part of this kind of entire transaction, what are they getting back in that part of it? Are they just getting off them for nothing and, like, just giving them, let's say the Brooklyn Nets or the Jazz get involved and they just get Buddy Hield or Moses Moody and give up a top 55 protected second round pick, and the Warriors are just getting off them and getting nothing back? Like, that's just not an upgrade unless the other part of it is significant. And Malik Monk isn't significant enough for the Warriors right now. I can't think of a single player right now who's making between, let's say, $17 and $22 million that the Warriors would be interested in giving up Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield for. Unless you're also getting Like significant draft compensation involved in that. And a lottery protected pick ain't significant draft compensation enough to me. And I'm sure not to the Warriors either. So let me know. Let me know if there's any player out there that you think the Warriors could possibly get in the next few days here. And that's the thing. It's only a few days till the October 1 deadline for the qualifying offer, where, again, Malik Monk goes to X team and the Warriors get X player to come, and then Kuminga gets to the Kings as he so wants this offseason. I'm going to finish it up there, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that would be greatly appreciated. Follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. We're also on Instagram and TikTok, Golden State with Mates there, where you can see different podcast clips, including from the Patreon, where there'll be a bonus episode of the Golden State with Mates podcast tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time. But until then, guys, and later in the week with another episode here on YouTube or via your podcast feed, enjoy the rest of your week ahead. AFL Grand Final for those in Australia this weekend. Have a few beers, but of course, drink responsibly. Cheers, guys.